So, were you as let down as we were by the Treehouse presentation of Paper Mario and. um. Bakugan? I'm Backrolls.
And I'm Mac Fraser, and welcome to the Nintendo Nerds, a series where we talk about art, design, and all things Nintendo.
So stick around, because in today's video, we're sharing some amazing Nintendo Switch titles that you could lay down your hard-earned dollars for under the cost of a AAA Nintendo title.
So, we had this Treehouse Live. I have to be honest, I didn't watch it. I just read about it. But you watched it, and you told me all about it. And without getting into too much detail, for those long-standing Nintendo fans, it doesn't look like this is the returned form of Paper Mario that we were hoping for.
It does not. You know, we have decided to have this kind of conversation because we like to have positive conversations here at the Nintendo Nerds, and our positive conversation would not be very long if we were talking about Paper Mario and the Origami King. That's just all we're gonna have to say about it. It doesn't really look like something I'm gonna purchase, and that's a big bummer for me.
Well, especially because it's going to be a full-price game, but it doesn't look like the content that we would get out of it would be what you would kind of expect out of an RPG that costs that much.
So that's what led us to having this conversation. Mac and I were carting and decompressing afterward and discussing how we were feeling, and you were feeling burnt out by these full-price Nintendo titles because all these Nintendo games have been extremely charming all the way through. We're not feeling all that challenged or compelled or excited by what the mainline Nintendo offerings have been. As you were saying, Mac, you're a little more hesitant with your mainline Nintendo purchases these days.
Well, which is something that I find quite unfortunate because the thing is I've always primarily bought the Nintendo hardware for the Nintendo IPs, as I would believe a good 70 to 80% of Nintendo fans generally do. You know, without getting too deep down that rabbit hole, you know, some of these games that I have loved for years that I was really looking forward to playing on the Switch really just haven't delivered in the way that I had kind of expected them to. And so, yeah, we got to talking about this, and you know, there's a lot of games available on the Switch at a lot lower cost than some of these AAA titles, and could possibly provide more hours of fun than even some of the full price games.
Yes, especially when the early takeaways of the Origami King, the phrase that stuck out with me from Nintendo World Report was laughably easy. Some of the things we have on here offer a pretty decent challenge. The list we came up with still has something in that vein of what made Paper Mario special and what made us love it years ago.
Yes. All right, well, Backrolls, let's start with you.
Cool, let's do it. I think the first one I brought on this list is a big curveball. It's a big pinball curveball. It is Yoku's Island Express. Yoku's Island Express was developed by Villa Gorilla back in 2018. This game normally goes for about $39.99. We'll be listing these in US prices, and right now currently it's on sale for $18 as of this video. It goes on sale all the time, and some of these games we will mention, they go on sale all the time on the eShop. Yoku's Island Express was an incredibly charming pinball Metroidvania adventure. What I really think brings it most akin to the Paper Mario is its whimsy, its musicality, and its sense of comedic timing. I think that Yoku's Island Express was just a really relaxing adventure, and the stakes were never so high. You never really get a game over in that game, and it just encourages you to explore. And if you really, really dig into it and try to 100% it, there's a lot of collectibles you can find as well. It's a great time. It's a nice tropical adventure, and some of us are still stuck indoors. So if you need a tropical adventure these days, that's not a bad way to go.
Very good first my first pick for this is going to be Dandara for anyone who hasn't played it, it's kind of like it's an action adventure platformer, kind of another one of these Metroidvania style games. It is a little bit more on the challenging side. This game initially released in 2018 by Long Hat House, published by Raw Fury. Right now, it is on the eShop for $14.99 US. It's a challenging game. It provides a challenge. It keeps you busy because you will ultimately find yourself in rooms and areas of the game that suddenly are much harder than the areas that you came from. And the twist on this one is that you don't run around like you would in a traditional game of this style. You actually have to hop from walls to ceilings to floors to other platforms and things like that. And you can't just save wherever. It's got a similar kind of save station kind of thing going on to early Metroid games where, you know, you had to make sure that you made it to this place to be able to save to continue. And so Dandara has camps, I believe it was. There was tents that you had to make your way to in order to save. And in order to like upgrade your health and magic and other things of that nature, you basically would have to collect things along the way, make your way to one of these camps, and then build up your stamina and things from there. If you acquired a bunch of these pieces and didn't make it to a camp and happened to lose your life before that, all of that was gone and you were going to have to go recollect. I think that the boss battles in this game were extremely fun. I think aesthetically it was very pleasing. It was a fast-paced game. Again, kept you busy, kept you doing stuff while you were playing. I've only played through it once. It's definitely been calling me to come back and play it again, but honestly, at $14.99, it's a great game to pick up. And again, if we're talking about possibly picking up multiple titles instead of one, this would be one of the ones that I would suggest.
You might have just sold me on Dandara because I just saw it on the eShop. There's that game where you have to jump a lot, but you broke it down for me in a way that makes them like, oh, I'm gonna have to go give that trailer another look.
Well, given some of the things that are coming up in your list here, I think that this would be a type of game that you would really enjoy. Well, I'm not 100% sure if it goes on sale that often or what it would go on sale for, but honestly, at $14.99, it's one of these games, back rolls, that you can play, probably get through it in 10 or 15 hours, but you know, we've talked about how much we like some games like the Link's Awakening remake because sometimes it's just nice to go back to a 10 or 15 hour game and just kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't need every game to be 60 hours. Gone is the era where they promise the hours of gameplay when they pass you the game. If I have a really great experience in 12 hours as opposed to something that drags on for 30, I'd much rather have a 12-hour game.
Absolutely.
And with that, there's a couple, like Yoku's Island Express is probably about a 12-15 hour game, as you mentioned, Dandara is too. This next one is a juicy, deep game that I'm going to recommend that you can get for also $15, and that's Hollow Knight. Now, I think Hollow Knight is deep enough that we could do an entire You Should Play This just for itself, but everyone on the internet has already done that, so I'm not gonna do that again. Hollow Knight is spectacular. It doesn't play like Paper Mario. It is an action-adventure platformer. It's a true Metroidvania. Everything is hand-drawn, and it's very dark and moody, but the characters are all bugs, and you get the storyline of what happened to this dark abandoned city the more you explore it and the more you talk to the other characters in the game. It's challenging, it's rewarding, it is all about the successful timing. It's a lot more attack heavy than Paper Mario. If you needed something relaxing, I would not call Hollow Knight relaxing, but tremendous game. I don't need to go into it further. Enough people have. And it's always on sale from a already full price $15 game. It's always a great deal to pick up Hollow Knight.
It's really amazing that we live in this world now that, you know, lots of indie developers are getting more of a platform to present their games to the world. And the thing is that, you know, we're not waiting years for releases from some of the bigger studios where we know, you know, it's a full price game, that we're getting quality titles, even if they're 10, 15, 20-hour games for 10 or 15 bucks.
Yes, and Team Cherry really did phenomenal work on Hollow Knight. I'm really looking forward to Silksong, and I need to probably give it another go and refresh my memory on it before Silksong's eventual release.
Right, so my next pick in this list here, we don't have a lot of multiplayer games in this list because it's fairly short.
But I love this pick.
But, you know, we have talked about these, you know, multiple times, never to any, like, great length. But honestly, Overcooked and Overcooked 2. Again, like Overcooked is $19.99 right now, and I think that's for like the deluxe edition, all the DLC and everything. And then Overcooked 2 has been getting more DLC since it's released. That one right now, regular price at $24.99. But these games go on sale all the time too. Again, can't say that I have kept track of how cheap that they go, but you see some significant discounts on these ones, and it is just, again, another one of these engaging games that is just fun to play, nice and charming, cute aesthetic style, keeps you engaged whether you play by yourself or you're playing with other people. And I have to be honest, like, I don't know how many people feel about this game the way that I did, but like, I didn't like moving on until I 3-starred those levels. And so lots of replay value in these things, and it's a blast to play whether you play by yourself or you play with someone else.
The tensions in your household of trying to 3-star levels in Overcooked.
Wash the dishes.
No, you wash the dishes. I'm cooking the pasta. that is
it's burning. It's burning.
It's when you start that game, you're like, oh, we chopped some lettuce. Good job, team. That was fun. We added tomatoes to it. That was easy to get 3 stars. We're gonna be great at this game. And then you go in space, and that game is. I'm getting like sense memory stress of my partner and I playing through that, and the two of us.
This is one of those games that you know, as you go through it, like you said, Backrolls, it starts off kind of easy. It gives you the mechanics that you need, and then all of a sudden, like, you move on to the next world, and you're like, why am I cooking food in 2 trucks with no walls on them as they move back and forth down a highway? And sometimes I can get to the other side of the kitchen, and sometimes I can't. And then, you know, I think in space they had what was it called? Like, I don't know. It was little like conveyor belts that you had to worry about, and sometimes you had to switch them like the other way, and sometimes there were pitfalls. Oh my goodness, the amount of stuff that would happen in that game, it just mayhem.
The amount of times you just go, oh no, because they've introduced a new mechanic or a new recipe, but it's delightful. And even though we would walk away like grumpy sometimes, then you come back and then you 3-star it, and it's that triumph. That is what makes Overcooked really worth playing, and I think it's worth spending the extra $5 to get Overcooked 2 for the online play.
Yeah, you know what? I would agree with you. I think that was one of the shortcomings in the first one, is it's unfortunate that there was no online play involved. So I would say I think the second one is a little bit more polished overall. I think it gives a little bit more variety than the first one, but honestly, that multiplayer is worth the $5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what we've got on Overcooked. This next one, it has a special place in my heart because I played it a long time ago, and it was a delight to replay it on the Switch. I was happy to give Supergiant Games my dollars again, and we're huge Supergiant fanboys here. We actually had the pleasure to interview Darren Korb about this, but I think it bears mentioning, just completely unbiased review of Bastion. It's a tremendous game and an action RPG that is absolutely worth picking up. It is significantly darker than something like Paper Mario's Fair, but I think it is a game that's really worth sinking your teeth into, because Bastion came out in 2011, so at this point it's 9 years old, but it's amazing how many modern games could say that they play in a similar fashion to Bastion. And when you play it, you're like, oh, there's so many games that kind of like owe their play style to games like this. Mm-hmm. Darren Corbin, Amir Rao, and the whole Supergiant team, they really just did such a great job of showing how much they loved playing Diablo 2 back in the day, and making Fair that was an intense dungeon crawler but also had a great storyline. And I think the art is beautiful. Gen Z's art is tremendous, as you can tell. I'm such a Supergiant fan, but again, the team is amazing. I'm so glad they've stuck together to make so much amazing art over the years, and Bastion really is a huge testament to why that team is worth all the hype. And that game is available for $14.99.
Again, steal. We've the last 3 games that we've talked about, the last 3 games on your list, if you were to combine them, are still under the price of Paper Mario and the Origami King.
That's true. Well, I think all the games we've talked about are really good deals, and I think that is part of the exciting thing about Nintendo Switch too. Is I think if I was only buying the mainline Nintendo titles, I probably honestly would not be over the moon with my Nintendo Switch purchase. Mm-hmm. But I think there are a lot of these games that are available on other systems, but I really want it in a version where I can put it on my television, or I can play it handheld on my couch.
Absolutely. So my next pick in this list here is it does not go on sale as much, and it's a full price game generally. Falls in line with a lot of the other kind of AAA titles in terms of price. But honestly, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle goes on sale for like 75% off all time. You can
All
get
the
like
time.
the gold edition is like $79.99. If when it goes on sale, like honestly, I think you can get it for somewhere in the realm of like 30 or 40 bucks. Like
I
it's
think I've
really,
seen it for 20.
yeah.
Maybe I'm looking at just Kingdom Battle, but either way.
But regardless, like I never bought the DLC for that, so I can't really speak to that. But even
Same.
just like the regular game when it goes on sale, honestly, highly suggest it. And this one I would compare to Paper Mario, just kind of in themes a little bit. You know what? It's a very bright game. Again, like a lot of Nintendo games, as we mentioned earlier, it's very charming, right? Like it's very comical, it's funny. I'm gonna be honest, with Mario and Rabbids, when they first announced this, I was like, oh my god, it's just gonna be Mario running around. Like it's literally just gonna be a game of like fart jokes and stupid things, and I'm not gonna like this.
Your
Thankfully,
concerns were shared by much of the internet, I
honestly,
believe.
I really wasn't too keen on it, but I think that they struck a really nice balance. And again, it's another one of these games. It's an a strategy game that keeps you engaged. You really have to be on top of what you're doing. That's another one of these games that kind of ramps up. You feel like you've got everything on the go. You are on the level. Things are working well for you. And then you move on to the next world, and you're like, oh, okay, suddenly there's ghosts now that can teleport. That's fun. But it just, again, it's bright, charming game, lots of character. Music was really good. Boss battles were fun and engaging. Like, I have no complaints about Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And again, if you wait until it goes on sale, which it does often, I think that it's another one of these games that you could fill your time with instead of something like Paper Mario. And if you're looking for something fun and enjoyable and lighthearted, this is a pick for you.
And it may not be the same combat style in that it is not a traditional RPG, but there is still turn-based action. If you have ever played any of the XCOM titles, it plays in that fashion where you're fighting on a grid and you are shooting at each other. So not exactly traditional RPG, but the leveling up system and the way that the combat evolves is very RPG-like. And because of that, I think it would definitely scratch the itch of people who are disappointed by what the Paper Mario announcement was.
Honestly, if you're looking for something fun to play, this is one to pick up. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it far more than I expected to, and yeah, it's worth a look.
Mm-hmm. This would be more akin to if you're missing a traditional Mario game, or even if maybe you liked Super Paper Mario a lot. Celeste was, again, another game that the internet has talked about at length, so I don't need to do a full you should play this about this, but Celeste is a $19.99 game that always goes on sale, and it is worth every penny at full price. I would say Celeste, hands down, is my favorite platformer I have played since the 90s, and the golden age of my favorite platformers on the Super Nintendo. And I say that without hyperbole. And there are some amazing platformers that have also come out, like we have talked about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. That's an amazing game. Celeste does it for me. Celeste has a great storyline. It has a concise storyline that you can play through in about 15-20 hours. It has a way to put on an easy assist mode if you want to experience it, but the platforming gets too challenging for you as a gamer, so it's accessible. Celeste is a phenomenal game. Everyone has already talked about that way more than I need to at length, but if you like platformers, it's tremendous. If you like really challenging platformers, the B-side will destroy you. So 10 out of 10 game. I highly recommend it.
One thing that really intrigues me about Celeste is that if you look at the kind of game that it is and the kind of platformer that it is, you know, when it got reviewed and it was given all these, you know, these glowing reviews from different outlets, they talked a lot about the story that was kind of built into the game. And I don't know, when I look at a trailer for a game like that, I never would expect that story and like narrative would be such an integral part of like the whole experience. But I think it's really cool that they were able to work all that in together.
And you know, I think that's because you and I grew up on Sonic and Mario, where storyline has never been the forefront of a 2D platformer.
True.
But this just goes to show it absolutely could be. It's a story told with heart. It's a story told with care about anxiety and overcoming that. And our main character is a flawed heroine, and she's written with depth, as are the other characters. It's a great game. I look forward to you eventually playing it.
Yeah, I think it's one that I haven't played yet, but I'll get there. I will get there. So those were kind of the main games that we wanted to talk about. All coming in significantly underpriced of a AAA title.
Yes.
In all honesty,
We've mentioned a couple that are full price, but if you find them on sale, which everything we've mentioned often goes on sale, you could even, in theory, pick up almost all of these for the price of Paper Mario. How about that?
Bananas. Seriously, bananas.
Well, that's what we've got. We gave you a list of 7 games that you could pick up for under the cost of Paper Mario: The Origami King.
So, tell us about some of the games that maybe you found in your travels on the eShop. Things that you picked up that you didn't know anything about. Things that you picked up that you absolutely enjoyed but cost you, less than a bottle of pop or something. But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of our picks. If you played any of these games, what are your thoughts on them? Any that stand out specifically to you?
Yeah, we'd love to hear more opinions and more takeaways on some other great hidden gems in the eShop. We like to talk about a lot of the mainline stuff, but this was a fun way to dig into some of the games that I've had in the back catalog that we've been wanting to talk about for a little while.
Well, and perhaps if we get some recommendations through the comment section here, we might have enough to put together another video eventually.
I'd love to see that happen. So if you do have anything you'd like to suggest, send us a comment below or send us a message on our socials. We'll drop a link here below.
Thank you so much for watching. For more nerdy content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button.
As always, we hope you leave this video ready to pick up a Pro Controller, a paintbrush, or a pen. I'm Backrolls.
And I'm Mac Fraser, and this has been the Nintendo Nerds.